unanswered questions. I keep thinking in that discussion that you were just having with Martha, one of the things over the last several weeks that you saw a lot of people questioning wasn't just whether Joe Biden was up for the job, it was whether he could win. And that was really the big concern that we kept hearing over and over again in our conversations with Democrats, was whether the president could successfully take the fight to Donald Trump. And I think in many ways that was what most alarmed so many in the party when they saw that debate performance was from the president, was that he wasn't able, in their minds, to successfully articulate the argument, to successfully litigate the case against Donald Trump. That is something, of course, that Kamala Harris is very familiar with. She has been out on the campaign trail doing just that, especially on the issue of abortion, which this campaign feels will be at the center of this election, that they believe will drive and motivate voters to the poll. Kamala Harris has been front and center on that issue. And as you mentioned earlier, she has also, of course, been doing a lot of outreach to critical voting groups, including Black voters, who will determine this race in many ways, Rachel.
Yeah, Mary, and let's stay with you for a second here, because as we're talking about the president stepping aside in this race, we talk about President Biden endorsing his own Vice President Kamala Harris. Let's sort of peel back what she has been focused on during this administration. You mentioned she's been the leading voice on the issue of abortion rights, but also on handling the migrant crisis as well, Mary.
Yeah, and we saw that last week, right? Republicans really, in many ways, trying to argue that a vote for Joe Biden was a vote for Kamala Harris, and putting her front and center in the debate over immigration. So let's be clear here. Kamala Harris was tasked by President Biden to tackle the root causes of immigration. She was never put in charge of border security, despite the argument that you may hear from Republicans. And I suspect you're going to continue to hear from Republicans. They see that as a real political opportunity for them to try and take some hits at Kamala Harris. But she certainly has been very involved in the issue of immigration and the root causes of that. Abortion, though, is the issue that she has owned and dominated over the last year. In fact, I spent a whole day out on the trail with her several months ago, where she was out just hammering this point. She has argued that Donald Trump is to blame for Roe versus Wade. They often cite how Donald Trump has bragged about appointing 3 of the Supreme Court justices who overturned that decision. And they have argued that all of these restrictions that we are seeing put in place across the country are Donald Trump's fault. That is an argument you are going to continue to hear Vice President Harris, perhaps nominee Harris, make in the future. But there are just a lot of questions here still to unpack before you can even imagine, how all of this, these changes will change the actual campaign's argument. The good thing is she has been out on the trail. Look, she has been out. She's been making the case. That case will not change. But there's certainly a lot of questions about what this ticket will look like in the coming days and weeks, Rachel.
Definitely, Mary. Thank you. I want to bring back in our political director and our Washington bureau chief, Rick Klein, because Mary does make a really good point here. We've heard from President Biden, but we have yet to hear from Vice President Kamala Harris, Rick.
Technically, she hasn't even announced that she is a candidate for president. And that is a glaring omission from the discourse at this very fluid moment, Rachel. Keep in mind that up until about an hour ago, everyone in the Democratic Party was making plans to have a convention in Chicago that would do what conventions always do, which is to nominate the person who won the most delegates. Joe Biden won almost all of the delegates, something like 97% of the delegates for Biden delegates. In fact, the Democratic National Committee was doing a Zoom call to iron out the details of what would have been a virtual roll call to lock down the nomination for him as early as the first week of August. While that call was going on, they got the news of President Biden's statement. So at that time, just getting some new reporting on this, they actually said that they'd be adjusting their guidance and trying to provide as much flexibility as possible for the delegates. You can read that in one way and say, wow, open convention, it is going to be an absolute free-for-all in Chicago. However, the fact that President Biden has already endorsed Vice President Harris speaks very loudly. Again, these are all delegates that are loyal to Biden, at least on paper. As of now, no one else has come forward and said that they're willing to challenge her. We've asked many of the offices of the people that are rumored to be thinking about running for president, people like Governor Whitmer, people like Governor Pritzker, people like Governor Beshear, Secretary Buttigieg, and none of them have indicated in any way that they would challenge, but none of them either have endorsed Kamala Harris. So at this hour, there's actually no one technically running, although I'd expect something from the Harris team in the coming minutes or hours from now. Then the question is what it looks like, because the party wants to make this look like it's not just an automatic, that it's not just a coronation, because Kamala Harris technically wasn't running for anything during the primary process. Joe Biden was. Those delegates are Biden delegates and not Harris delegates. So they're going to want to create at least the impression of an open process. all while trying to make it as clean with little messiness as possible. It is quite a balancing act. And again, Rachel, unbelievably fluid at this hour.
Rick Klein, thank you. I want to bring in our ABC political contributor, Donna Brazile now. Donna, what is your reaction to this news? You have been talking to Democrats within the party as they have urged President Biden to step aside. What is your reaction to the president finally making this decision?
Of course, I'm saddened because I respect Joe Biden, and I was prepared, as I did in 2020, to support the Biden-Harris ticket. Joe Biden is an honorable man. As he's done throughout his entire career, he made a decision that is best for our country. So I know the Democratic Party will come together at the convention, and our ticket, which will be led by Kamala Harris, will win in November.
Dawn, I want to ask you, because perhaps no one knows the rules better than you when it comes to the convention. How can this all play out? There are questions about whether or not this is going to be an open convention. How messy could this process be? What will it look like?
Well, I've always said my shorthand was Part A was Biden-Harris. Part B was Harris and her running mate. Part C would be an open convention where Harris would likely have to go and get the delegates that she has earned. Remember, these are Biden-Harris delegates, and she will have to ensure that she has the requisite number to secure the nomination. I know the vice president. I know that she would be and is the strongest candidate. She's been battle tested, battle scarred. She knows the job and knows the pressures of a national campaign, and that you cannot teach to anyone on the spot. She knows how to make a case and is ready to take on former President Donald Trump. And, you know, I think she can really lean into this thing about vision, the vision for the country, making sure the people who work hard can get ahead, that our basic rights are secure, and everyone, including the President of the United States, plays by the rules. So I'm looking forward to this campaign. Again, my heart is heavy for Joe Biden, who I've known for over 37 years. He has been an amazing president. He's a phenomenal man, a good man. And I'm sure after the president, you know, said his prayers, because he's a man of deep faith. And throughout this past weekend, I've just been praying that he feels better, get through COVID, as we prayed when President Trump got COVID several years ago. So I know the president is a good man, and I'm looking forward to helping in any way I can secure the nomination for Kamala Harris.
How confident are you that this would be a smooth process that plays out, though, at the convention, Donna?
Well, look, I cannot speak. I just got off a call. We just certified over 4,000 Americans to come to our convention. Yes, I'm a member of the DNC, but I'm also on the Credentials Committee, so it was my great honor today to certify. This was my first opportunity in my political career to serve on the Credentials Committee. And it comes 60 years after Fannie Lou Hamer came to Atlantic City and was begging for a seat at the table. Today, we are going to make sure that no American is turned around, that everybody who has been involved in this process, all 14 million Americans plus, will have a seat at the table in 29 days in Chicago.
Donna, let me ask you, because obviously the party was very divided on calling on the president to step aside. As of just before the president made this announcement, we heard from 40 Democrats calling on the president to step aside and drop out of this race. Do you believe that this is a party that would rally behind Vice President Kamala Harris, the vice president that the president himself has now endorsed in this race? And what is your message to those who may not think that she is the best fit?
Well, first of all, anybody who would like to step up today, tomorrow, maybe next week, I hope not too long, Kamala Harris is ready. I say that because she has been out there all throughout this year, campaigning from Michigan to Florida, just the other day to North Carolina. She was out on the West Coast. She's ready. She is ready. As I mentioned, she is battle scarred, but she's also battle tested. She knows the job and she knows the pressures of a national campaign. You can't teach that. So she's going to make a case to the delegates. She's going to make the case to the American people. And she is going to ensure that the Democratic Party is ready to take on the party of Donald Trump. She can lean into the fight that we've been discussing, whether it's on making sure that America is safe and secure, to creating the kind of 21st century infrastructure that the president and Vice President Harris have been working on. This is a great opportunity for the American people to see how democracy works. The president of the United States said basically in his letter, I'm ready to pass the torch. I'm ready to see a new generation. And he did that. And I'm proud of Joe Biden for his courage and his tenacity.
Donna Brazile, thank you so much. I want to get back to our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce. You know, Mary, so much of the concern from Democrats up on Capitol Hill was not just about President Biden's chances of winning in November. There was also a lot of concern about the impact that the president would have staying in the race, also on the House and the Senate, their ability to hang on to majority in the Senate and also possibly win the majority in the House.
Yeah, and that, we think, was likely one of the driving arguments that may have pushed him to make this decision. We know that was an argument that was made in person by Democratic leaders Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, the powerful former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, coming armed with data, making that argument that if he stayed at the top of the ticket, he could be a drag on Democrats. I do think it's interesting when we talk, to pick up on what you were discussing there with Donna, the next generation, right? The president is passing the torch, but who is that next generation? And Rachel, we are now hearing from several of those governors that have really been in the spotlight, many wondering if they would jump into this race if the president were to drop out, as he is now announcing. What's interesting is that they all bear something in common, all of these statements. We have heard from Gavin Newsom in California, from Gretchen Whitmer, from Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania, all of them praising President Biden. Let me read you some of this. Josh Shapiro saying the president is a patriot who served our country honorably in the Senate and as vice president, and is one of the most consequential presidents in modern history. He's gotten an incredible amount done to move our country forward, defend our democracy, and protect real freedom, saying he's proud to work by his side and grateful for his leadership. Gavin Newsom saying something, very similar, describing President Biden as a leader who's fought hard for working people and delivered astonishing results for all Americans. What they aren't talking about here, and guaranteed it is very early in this discussion, is Kamala Harris and whether they would then support the vice president if she were to run for the top of the ticket. Because, of course, there's been a lot of question about whether these other governors would be interested in jumping into the race or possibly would like to be a vice presidential pick for Kamala Harris to be at the top, Rachel.
Mary, good point that you're making here, that there's a lot of mention of President Biden and praising President Biden. Not a lot of mention right now of Vice President Kamala Harris. So let's take that to our chief Washington correspondent, John Karl. John, talk about some of the challenges that Vice President Kamala Harris faces.
Yeah, I mean, look, she is the absolute prohibitive frontrunner to replace Biden on top of the ticket. The fact that she's the vice president, the fact that Joe Biden has endorsed her, absolutely. But there are doubts within the Democratic Party about how strong a candidate Harris would be, a general election candidate. So this is not a done deal. And Donna Brazile knows the party as well as anybody. She's on the rules committee for the convention. She understands how this is going to play out. But I do think it's important to point out that in those primaries, and Joe Biden got 14 million votes in those Democratic primaries, those ballots listed a single name, and that name was Joe Biden. Kamala Harris's name was not on the ballot in any of those primaries. So she goes into a convention without a single pledged delegate. Now, neither do any of the names that Mary Bruce just mentioned, these governors that are mentioned as possible candidates. But this is going to have to play out. Kamala Harris is the prohibitive favorite, with some people in the party, influential voices in the party, who believe that a competitive process would actually make her a stronger candidate, and some who have a doubt about how strong she would be against President Trump. Now, the interesting dance that a lot of these governors have to play as they consider whether or not they would try to come in and challenge Kamala Harris for the nomination, many of those people are both potential candidates for president and for vice president. So you make a move to challenge Kamala Harris, that probably moves you considerably down the list of potential running mates for her. So it's going to be a very interesting dance to play out, but it is not a done deal. She's the prohibitive favorite in this, but it is not a done deal. And I think Mary raised a very important point, which is all of these statements from these big name Democrats who could potentially be on a ticket, none of them, at least to this moment, that I've seen or that Mary's seen, has mentioned Kamala Harris.
John, let me ask you, because I've been talking to Democratic sources as we've been on the air, and there's a little bit of a mix of relief from some of them that wanted to see President Biden step aside, but also some anxiety that I'm hearing from some Democrats over on Capitol Hill about what comes next. Exactly what you're talking about here. Is the party going to unify behind one person? Is this going to be a messy process? What have you been hearing from your sources in the party?
Well, there's undoubtedly anxiety, but I think there is overwhelmingly a sense of relief. And I think that the desire for Democrats to, first of all, beat Donald Trump. I mean, they speak about Donald Trump like he's an existential threat to the country. So the desire to beat Donald Trump is first and foremost, and the desire to make sure that the party can maintain control of the Senate and win back control of the House. Those are the factors that unite Democrats. They may be divided and deeply divided on the means, but there was also an overwhelming sense that Joe Biden was going to threaten all three of those goals if he had stayed in. So there's a sense of relief. And I think that you will see an energized Democratic Party as they come around. It may be messy for the next few weeks, but as they come around, as they come around the process of getting behind their nominee, you are going to see a rejuvenated Democratic Party, an energized Democratic Party. You're going to see the money flowing in a big way, the money that had dried up because there were such strong doubts about Joe Biden. So yes, it's going to be unconventional. This is going to be a heck of a story to cover. Rachel, I know you're going to be in the middle of it, but this is a Democratic Party that's going to come back in a rejuvenated way.
Tell me what I'm seeing is not real. Tell me he did not drop out for real. Come on, are you serious?
This is my thing, dog. They told that nigga, hey, catch COVID so you can have this meeting. Cause think about this, bro. There was no other way for him to sit down and have a meeting with these people that so-called don't want him. So catch COVID so we can have this meeting, have this sit down, have this talk.
That's the first. This is the first time in history, right? If I remember correctly from history class and the president shit, this got to be the first time in history where a presidential candidate, right? You're a fucking GOP nominee, nigga, and you just drop the fuck out. Like, hold up. All right, and you just drop out. This got to be the first, bro. Not saying that he was gonna win though, but still, that's a punk ass move, man. Nigga, you need to go out with a blaze of glory, nigga, and go to sleep.
See,
but
no.
He might, you know what, though? He doing himself and the country a favor, man. So he doing us a favor by doing that. But still, though, bro, that's still a bitch-ass move.
Right. You the type of person that want Joe Biden to kill himself for presidency. And it's not that deep. It's not that deep. To my opinion, let me say it like that. My opinion is not that deep. If I'm already losing, people don't like me. Only thing I'm really doing is saving this black woman from being VP. Then what am I really in a race for? What am I doing?
Yeah, but you know he got followers though.
Donors.
How do you think they feel?
Donors, you got donors hiding their money. We got donors talking about, I'm not handing you no more money. Like, come on. What's the word I'm looking for? Incentive.
Still take the loss, nigga. Still take the L. Trump took the L last year.
Hold on.
So,
what
nigga,
conversation did we just have about this last time you was over here talking about somebody taking an L? I think it was a police officer and a little kid that got shot. You want the little kid to take the You want the little black kid to take the L. Look, L's don't come lightly in 2024.
I need that nigga to not to take the bitch route. I need him to stand up like a man and take the L.
Yeah,
So
you
okay,
gotta
so
know.
hold on. So hold on. So let's get this subjectively, right? If he
Okay.
drops out, well, he did drop out. Who the fuck? So that means either Trump gonna automatically be the president by default, or Kamala Harris gonna take that nigga spot.
Thank you. Harris is gonna take his spot by default because technically she's the next runner-up, and until she comes on live or go on X and announces that she's not running, she's technically, even though he dropped out, technically she could be president right now as we speak.
No. He dropped out the race. He didn't drop out of presidency. He just dropped out of the race for the next presidency.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That
Yeah.
is correct. You are correct. But they can throw Joe Biden under the bus, like, you know what, you dropped out the race, whatever, okay. We put it throw everything to Pamela. Just sit back, retire. You just caught COVID. You know, they can run any excuse that we can think of is a legitimate excuse for them to say, all right, you need to go sit down. I think anybody can say anything logical right now, as long as it's a logical answer and it can be damn near correct of why he should go sit down and give the nominee to Pamela. I mean, to Harris.
I think they're setting it
I
up
feel
for us to
my
have a
old
lady
Trump calling
president.
her Pamela.
They're trying to set it up for us to have a lady president. The goddamn Simpsons already said it. You know, the Simpsons goddamn the fucking future tellers. You know what I'm saying? So I think they're trying to set it up for a first female president, bro.
I mean, okay, I'm not finna knock that yet again. I'm gonna repeat myself one more time. There's anything that you say logical is up for grabs. There's like nothing that me and you can say that be like, you know what, that's too far off. That's too far off. That's too far off. Everything is up for grabs right now. I can be honest. I'm being honest with myself and thinking about it logically. Like, yeah, you know, and okay, I'm gonna play devil's advocate because I talk shit, and I'm gonna say, Fanny, go get Fanny as your VP, because now you got somebody who's considered soft as a black woman as president with a VP with a
I
woman.
didn't say Sammy. I just thought about what you said. Stop playing.
What? It sounds stupid to us because of how we think, but yet again, in the back of the mind, you're gonna want somebody strong with Harris. You're gonna want somebody strong with Harris. All right, who's strong with Harris is gonna make a difference. It's gonna get out to these people. All right, go get
Bernie. No,
Go
Bernie's
get Fanny.
Republican. No, Bernie's
Huh?
Republican. I was gonna say Bernie, but I think Bernie's a Republican, but never mind.
Bernie's a Democrat, but Bernie
Bernie
ain't
was
got that
Republican.
backbone. You only gonna get Bernie for votes, and those are liberal votes. Only people that vote for Bernie is liberal people that want everybody to get the same paycheck no matter what position. If you're a boss, you're gonna make $15 an hour. If you're a supervisor, you're gonna make $15 an hour. If you are a team leader, you're gonna make $15 an hour. If you just got hired, you're gonna make $15 an hour. Those are liberals. Don't nobody want to vote for that shit. If I'm a fucking boss and I'm a GM, nigga, I'm not making $15 an hour as the person that just got hired on. No. That's a liberal mindset. Liberals will knock your experience that you already have grasped. For you, an example, how many times have you been a GM at a store?
Millions.
Right. Plenty of times, over 5, right? You can say
Million.
over 5. So you go to a job right now and you become a GM under a liberal mindset. You're only going to be worth what you just came into, not worth the actual salary of a GM. So average salary of a GM is what, 50 grand a year?
Most GM
50,000, 56,000, 55,000?
More than that.
Yeah, you're not making that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not making that as a liberal. Fuck that. You finna we're all GMs up in this motherfucker, and that's like not fair. That doesn't make logical sense of work ethics of what I put in and what you have accomplished. I want what I have accomplished, and you think females really gonna take that? Oh, I'm worth this. I can't get it. That don't make sense to me. Bernie, what you gonna do for black folks? What, I mean, you did the Million Man March. You did the you walked with Jesse Jackson back in the day. Okay, so what you really finna do for these niggas out here? Huh? What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
You don't know what he got in his mind to do.
What you gonna do? What is the only thing you
might be the one that break through
and do what?
You see,
You saying break through, but with no.
Hey, breakthrough can mean anything.
Yet again, that's what I'm saying. Elaborate. That don't mean, because in my eyes, breakthrough means shit. Break your ass, fall down, break your tailbone. What is you actually going? What do you mentally think that you finna do for niggas? You gonna give them jobs? You gonna get them off welfare? Are you gonna get everybody food stamps because they black? You know what he gonna do? He gonna do what old boy in Chicago, Brandon Johnson. We're gonna get a task force team to start reparations. We're not gonna actually work on reparations. We're gonna get a task force team. Yeah, I'm gonna promise you that. Yeah, how that look? That look real good, don't it? Real good. I just don't see it. I don't see it. If I was a black woman and I'm black, and I already know that don't nobody like me, everybody hates my laugh, don't nobody take me serious, man, I feel like give me somebody that's stronger than me, that's a force. It may be not looked on as a good idea. This other person that I'm thinking of may not be as strong as me, may not be as popular, but I'm looking for strength. And I'll worry about unity later. I need strength right now.
So you will use the next person to get where you need to be.
If I know they can pursue. What you think Bernie gonna do? Bernie's the same tool. It's just using a white man. I'm using another black woman. I mean, if we really want to go down the easy route, we know who she can go get. And it'd be a landslide. Trump would definitely be under losing status. We can name one black female right now, because right now she's on the Las Vegas polls. Right now, she's ranked third in becoming president with no experience. Go ahead.
Mike, I just thought about something.
Go ahead.
Capiche, I just thought about something, man. I'm going left field with this one.
Okay. Hey, look like you already in left field.
Yeah. Thank you, bro. Thanks for keeping up. Hey, what if Biden is a genius, right? What if he's a fucking genius? We don't know it. I'm gonna tell you what I mean. Left field. How about, okay, now you know we had the crazy ass shit with Trump, right? Okay, we had that. So what if he knows that some more WWE shit is about to happen around election time or during election time? So he's like, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm gonna go ahead on and goddamn get out this shit now, because I know some WWE shit about to happen, and I don't want to be nowhere near involved, because I see what the fuck happened with Trump. How they crucifying and trying to say his shit fake. Some people saying it's fake. Some people saying it's real. Biden like, look, I ain't got time for that shit. Since I can't control Since I can't, let me finish. Since I can't control the narrative of the WWE, I'm gonna just go ahead on and get out of the race, and then look, check it.
Like an uphill
he get out the race. Now, if you know your history, you know the Constitution. If we go to war or if anything happened to this country while the race is happening, it goes back to the president until that shit gets fixed. You know what I'm saying? They don't have the election during war or some crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? He stay the president till that shit get fixed. So if I know some WWE shit about to happen where we might have to go to war or some 9/11 shit happen again, I'm already the president. So why the fuck am I gonna lose and then have to get back in the office if some crazy shit goes on? I might as well just drop out the race. Let me go through this WWE shit and then let the chips fall where it may after that. Genius.
Yeah,
Genius.
But you think he's scared though? You think he's scared his ear gonna be the next one get hit?
Hold on.
Is you scared that his ear gonna get hit next? You think that's what it is for him?
Hold on, bro. We breaking up.
Yeah, we froze.
Yo, Mike, no.
We froze.
I said, you think that nigga scared his ear gonna be next to go?
He froze.
Yeah.
I turn it off there.
I'm gonna do this right here.
That's not turned off though.
I know it ain't.
There you go. You need a dog.
Hold on, bro. Say that again.
You looking at me like I can say something.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I said, do you think Biden scared his ear might be the next one to go?
Damn, all I heard was, is that what it is for him part?
What you say?
You think Joe Biden?
Let me hold on. Maybe it's on my end. Hold on. Let me run a check on my shit, bro.
All right. I did have somebody else up in here earlier too, y'all. We gonna go back into a little bit more of this coverage of what's going on. This is live.
One starts 8 years ago with Hillary Clinton, the day that she was up against Donald Trump and the day she lost. I mean, we are going back potentially to that moment where she is taking that very spot potentially. And we know that moment is actually what inspired her to run for
That's why I was telling him, he was like,
you and I both
I don't know
covered
what
that
you
2019
said.
campaign.
That's why I said, technically, right now, she could be the president.
About
He dropped out.
her loyalists.
Everybody like, man, you're
from
not
that
president.
campaign,
Some
those
people can
donors,
actually
those
think
people
like
committed
that. Like,
their
you
money,
dropped out,
their
you
energy, their emotional
you ain't
energy
president.
to that moment.
Yes, you
also
my president.
saw her
Okay.
lose in that moment. But every one of the
Who's
people
gonna be
who I
your
spoke
VP?
to the last
Like
few
I said,
days feel like they
right
would
now,
support
she's
her,
not
of course, if she were to be the
enough
nominee. In fact,
to
one person told
win.
me there would be a deluge of money
My
coming in,
opinion.
8 to 9 figures, he suspects.
It's
He
about
says there's
him,
a lot of pent-up
right there, right?
frustration
Yeah,
and
she's not
confusion.
tough.
He believes she could energize
She might not be
this
tough, but she
particular
might got
moment.
that
Another
mouthpiece
person
that
said
can
he's
get
been
a
to
lot of shit
10
done.
conventions in his life. He was not
She had
planning on
three.
going
She
to
already
this one.
been
He
in
says
office for
Kamala
4 years.
Harris
What did
is
she
the
do?
nominee.
What you
Across
don't know?
4
everything, he
years.
says it is
Huh?
all hands on deck. You are starting
She was
over.
vice
You have 4
president.
months to
These
get
last 3
elected.
years.
So a
This
lot of
is here right
excitement
here.
from those former donors
You don't
and also
run
from her
shit.
former
Yes, she
staff.
do.
She was speaking to
President
them
runs.
also
Oh
the
my
last
God!
few days.
Please
Look,
don't say
that
that.
campaign
You're the
ended
vice
in a very,
president.
very
You
almost
call
emotional way
shots.
for them. It
Listen,
ended
vice.
abruptly 2 months before Iowa even started.
If
A lot
not
of them feel like they can
president,
pick up where that campaign
she's
potentially
under
left
the
off and see
president.
the history
She still
that they
calls
might have wanted to
shots.
see at that
For what?
moment.
Yeah,
For what?
undoubtedly
She's
a
the
historic moment, Serene.
board
Thank
of
you.
E.
I want to go
She's
right
the
now
border
to
patrol.
our Martha Raddatz. Martha,
She
as
she's
we're talking
pushing for
more about
Roe v.
Vice President
Wade.
Kamala Harris and
She
really
can
taking a
call
closer look at
shots.
her and what she's been in charge of in this
She
administration. We know
can.
that she's been the leading voice on abortion rights as well as handling the migrant crisis at the border. How
Whoa,
has this
whoa, whoa,
administration at the
whoa,
White House
whoa.
internally and
See that lie right there.
I don't fuck with her, so
It's
I go against everything she's trying to do. When it comes to abortion and all this, nigga, because if Biden wanted to make it where, what was that shit? Women have to get an abortion or something, or can't get an abortion. I'm not with that shit, man. And you vice president, so you gonna ride with the president on whatever he say.
Well, you're gonna ride on this because we're talking about women's, as ladies say, women's rights. It's our right.
Okay, so it's men's rights.
That's yet again, that's an argument that needs to be made. Like
The only reason I say that because now I'm finna jump on your bandwagon.
but then that's what they call man explaining.
What's the
Mansplaining.
definition of women right?
Women rights is when you had the right to vote in 1920. They gave you the option to be drafted into the army. You can own property. You can get money back from the death of your loved ones if he died.
People get that now.
Before 1920, before females had their rights, in 1920, if a man died, that money did not go to the wife. The money went to the son, or it went back to another family member.
That's understandable.
But Let's throw something out there for people to learn. In 1920, females voted against the rights to have rights. They did not want all that they called it responsibility.
You know why? Because females don't think like men.
Because
men
they
don't mind.
No, listen, because they actually said it. They did not want to go to war. They wanted to stay at home and make babies for their husband. That was the easy life.
And ain't nothing wrong with that,
and that's what we needed here in America.
Why people don't look at shit like this? Okay, yeah, I'm gonna stay home, but nigga, eventually one of us gotta go first. And hopefully it's not the breadwinner. So
the breadwinner always gonna be the man.
I know that. I'm saying the man was to die. Knock on wood, it don't happen to nobody across the world. Even though I know it is on my behalf. But if that man was to die, what is that lady gonna do? Still let her have babies? Bitch, you can't take care of. I don't mean to call him no bitch, but
yeah, see, that's what. But that's her. Yeah,
you can't.
She remarries. What's wrong with remarrying? She's a widow.
Because now all of a sudden y'all want rights, nigga. Get up and fight for him like men had to. I'm not saying us, but we're men. We didn't literally fight for this shit. The motherfuckers who did. Okay. Y'all don't want to go to war, but at the same time.
But that was back then.
Yeah.
But now you got women that like, okay, you got women that appreciate the rights. That they can go fight for this country.
Why now fight now when the people that raised them peoples denied the right though?
Because I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of women don't know that. A lot of women don't know that in 1920.
I didn't know that neither. I didn't either because I'm not a female. I'm not gonna keep up on that shit. But a lot of women need to go do research on that shit and get a better understanding.
We all they think is that we fought for right. They think the what is the 60s and the 70s movements womenism. When they was burning their bras for just to be heard for equal pay and stuff like that, that was separate from rights. That wasn't talking about take our rights away. No, they just wanted better opportunity. At that time, they had all this responsibility, so to say, but they wasn't getting jobs to equal out the job payment.
Okay, now this is what. You know, you can say I'm going down a rabbit hole. Okay, true enough.
Go down the rabbit hole.
Y'all fought for equal pay, right? But if I remember correctly, back then, when they did have to fight for that, nigga, y'all rent was probably $100. And I'm not knocking nothing they fighting for, but women need.
I think women back then fought for what they knew was going to happen today, stuff like this.
That's basically what I was saying. And women today, not all women, some women, immature women, they still look at shit as is back in the day. Like, no.
But men do it too. It's a dude that went on the Bill Maher show and told two white men that his daddy said that 2024 is like living in 1965, and it was like, no, stop playing.
Yeah,
no playing. And a Jewish guy said it's like me saying that today is almost like the Holocaust, just because Jewish people are getting scolded if they're trying to go to school on them campuses where we covered maybe like a month ago when it was the Hamas Israel.
That school to blow up, kill people.
No.
Hey fellas. I just want to bring something to your attention, man. I'm glad you brought up the Jews and all that stuff, but something just popped up, man. That was a great conversation y'all was having. We're gonna go back to that in a second. But I just seen a clip of Ryan Garcia, the boxer dude, talking shit about every damn race on this planet, right? He talked about us, called us niggas, all that shit. But when he talked about the Jews, when he said the J word, and when he said the LBG word, they canceled him out of boxing completely. He can't even box no goddamn where. But it was before he said something about the J word and the alphabet people, oh, all he got to do is apologize to all the other races. But once he said something about Hitler, he made a comment about Hitler and the Jews, and that, Jews, pretty much Jews got all the money. You know what I'm saying? So they was like, no, this nigga can't box no more. He talking like that. You can't bite the hand that fucking feed you, nigga. We don't care if you is Mexican. You know what I'm saying? You can talk shit about the black people. You can call them niggas all you want. You can do all this with the white people. But when it come to us, nigga, we will show you. Your mouth will goddamn cash, will make
Hey,
checks that you ass can't cash. So they can't.
was his statement about them true? Was his statement about the Jews and the LGBTQ community, was it true?
Whether it was true or not, that's his opinion.
No, I know. And guess what? And guess what? And I understand that. Me and him argue that all the time. Listen, me and him argue that all the time, bro. That's your opinion.
That's his opinion, man. He gonna live and die with that. You know what I'm saying?
But hold on, wait. I just please give me an answer. The statement he made about them, was it or was it not true?
Most of the shit he was saying was true. It was just derogatory and what's the word? Stereotypical. It was stereotypical and derogatory, but most of the shit he was saying was true.
But
you know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. Like they don't want their truth out there. Like, oh no, he know too much. Let me go and push him over to the side right quick. And
he was being too real. Too real on that podcast.
And I'm not gonna lie, I fuck with people like that because that just shows they're haters.
We need that type of dialogue.
Yeah.
We can't just have Pat Williams spill out the truth about stories that need to be told because we always had this one scenario. We can't have Dame Dash come out here and tell us a scenario that we should have been looking at it for years, but we ignored as a community. And then yet again,
thank God to that law.
Some of us today,
thank God for it, we know it now.
You know what I'm saying? And yet again, today, some of us out here will still be like, you know what? I don't care. I'm still gonna rep this person, even though I know the facts. It's like, and that's where you get back into what Caveman said. It's like, okay, this is the facts. We all know the facts. But yet again, you're going to say, fuck the facts because I live in this reality. Not your facts is your facts, my facts is facts. No. I cannot play that rabbit game with nobody. This is the facts, but you want to live in a different reality. So therefore, you can live by whatever misdemeanor or rules or laws that you want to live by. And that right there is where today is right now. Right now, we are so I can live my own reality because it's been pushed, it's been brainwashed. Look, multiverses and stuff like that. And some of us older groups like, come on, dog, this stuff was just in comic books and it was used for sense of humor, not to brainwash us to as grown, like, I think I'm in a multiverse, so therefore I can think how I want it. Like, no.
You know what's funny? You know what, Capiche? You know what's funny that you say that, man? I'm sitting here thinking about Mr. McGruger. I forgot his name, Matt McGruger, the dude, the Boondocks nigga, right? I'm sitting here thinking about all them episodes. I'm thinking about all them crazy ass episodes that we had with the Boondocks where they covered issues that was like taboo. And I'm looking at today, and I'm like, all that shit, all they was talking about in the Boondocks, that shit is out right now. Niggas wearing dresses, niggas wearing purses, fingernail shit. They had a show about fingernail shit, gay shit, Puff Daddy getting goddamn faggots and all that, bro. The hip hop, the way the hip hop is ran now and all that. I was like, yo, bro,
but that's
that shit crazy, man.
Okay, and I guess I have to say this: the no homo rule. So, how long was the RuPaul show out?
How long was that? The Boondocks?
How long?
Not that long.
No, I ain't say Boondocks. How long was the I know we didn't watch it, but I know you heard of the RuPaul show. How long was that?
If I'm not mistaken, I think it's on Tubi.
Yeah, he had a show for a little while. RuPaul had a show for a
That's
little
been,
while. He wasn't the only one. Richard Simmons had one too. Back in the day. That nigga had one too. Yeah.
come
He
on.
wasn't the only one.
Tyler Perry.
And then you gotta think about basketball players. You already know who I'm gonna say.
Who?
My favorite team of them all.
Who?
Got to come from Chicago.
Who? What is you saying? Stop doing that.
No, wasn't Dennis Rodman gay?
I guess.
I don't know.
Yeah, I
I'm
guess.
you know, 'cause that was something they tried to put on.
Bisexual,
I
bro.
never saw him
He
like
was
that. I
women.
always
He
saw
fucked
Dennis
bitches and
Rodman
niggas.
as a nice basketball player.
I think for real,
Robin
because
was both.
I never. Okay, can we? I'm gonna get a little personal. This is as far as personal I'm going. I personally never heard of Dennis Rodman sexually having sex with any men. I always heard him having sex with women. No homo. I heard that he had his penis broke 3 times. I mean, he actually said it on the podcast. So that yet again, I also heard that he only used that persona and that thing on the basketball court to throw people off. Yet again, Dennis Rodman played against a lot of people that were bigger than him. Another Angel Reese out there. Where yet again, most of the people that you're playing against are bigger than you or taller than you. So therefore, I got to come with a little bit more And yes, Dennis Rodman had muscles just like any other person back in the 90s and late 80s. I was say early 80s. I'm like, no, let's no.
But you know what, though, Mike? We can say that. At Capiche, we can say the same thing about Prince. We can say the same thing about Mike. They dress feminine as hell. But, you know, ain't nobody, I don't remember nobody really saying that Prince fucked them in the ass or that Michael fucked them in, except for little kids with Mike. But that's a whole different story. But, yeah, you're right. They dress feminine as hell. Rick James, feminine as hell, but was fucking bitches. You know what I'm saying? So
Little Richard.
I think he is gay. No, he is gay, bro. That nigga really is gay. He said, no, Little Richard, he said that shit. He really is gay.
Oh, he really.
Hey,
but that nigga wasn't.
Hey, do y'all think some of these people went to
Mooney was gay too.
parties?
Who? Most of these people I named, P. Diddy was a little nigga. Wasn't even around.
I know, but he was young as fuck when he came in the game, though.
P. Diddy came in the game at 18.
Yeah, he was young as fuck.
It was the other way. They wasn't going. P. Diddy didn't have no parties back then.
Not back then. He didn't. He was just starting out. The parties didn't start until the parties didn't start until after he fucked Clive Davis and got the money to make Bad Boy Records. That's when the party started. When Bad Boy Records came about.
Changing the subject, but staying on what we're talking about. Y'all think that's around Heavy D, or that's like after he got Craig Mack? Because I remember a little bit in order of how it went. Because it was Heavy D and Mary J. Blige back in the day, and P. Diddy.
Yeah.
And
that was
they
Uptown
were.
Records. That was Uptown. Okay. Oh, I see what you're asking, Mike. Okay, let me break it down, bro. It was Andre Herrera, rest in peace. He gay too. But anyway, rest in peace. He was the leader of Uptown Records. This before Bad Boy, all that shit. Who owned Uptown Records, even though he was running it? Clive Davis. You know what I'm saying? So Puffy gets out of Harvard and gets an internship at Uptown Records. You know, he working for free. So he do that for like 2 years. Andre Herrera gives him a job after probably sucking his dick or something. Andre Herrera gives him a job. Puffy gets in there, learns as much as he can from Andre, get in the bitch, and try to take the shit over. Andre was like, "Oh no, hell no! You got to get your gay ass out of here, nigga. No, you got to take this shit over, nigga. You're fired. Get out." So he had already made relationships with Clive Davis already. So when Andre Herrera fired Puffy was like, "All right, fuck you, nigga. I'm just gonna go fuck the goddamn boss." You know what I'm saying? So that's what he did. He went and fucked the boss. The boss said, "Okay, who you got? Who gonna be your first 2 big acts if I give you this money for this Bad Boy label?" I got a cat named Biggie that's coming up right now, and Craig Mack. He's already singing right now. That's my artist, Craig Mack. Flavor in Year, nigga.
Yeah.
That's me. I got Biggie coming. Biggie's women right
Yeah,
behind him.
okay.
Craig Mack came out first. If you remember correctly, Craig Mack came out first. So
Craig
Puffy was
Mack,
like,
yeah.
look, I got big. It's on the YouTube. He had a fucking Big Mac. He had a fucking Big Mac McDonald's fucking Big Mac carton back in the day that said Big Mac, like for Biggie Smalls and Craig Mack. And that's how he was selling that shit to Clive Davis. Clive Davis fucked him, gave him the money. Bad Boy now a motherfucking record label under Clive Davis. Andre Herrera is still doing Uptown, but now that Bad Boy's in play, most of the Uptown people know Puffy. So now they're coming to Bad Boy. You know what I'm saying? Now they're coming to Bad Boy. So that's how all that shit came about, yo.
Hold on, wait.
See,
Hold on, wait.
it sounds like he went down the rabbit hole before Biggie came around. Diddy was down the rabbit hole, which I already knew about.
He started his internship.
Yeah. Look, Biggie was gonna leave Bad Boy. That's why Puffy had to kill him. No, nigga, you is not gonna leave me. Take my secrets, take my artists that I fucking goddamn with you. Junior Mafia, all them niggas, that's under me, nigga. Y'all wouldn't be shit without me. Y'all not gonna leave.
See, right there. See, that's the question. What gave you the confidence? Who talked to you? Somebody had to give you the confidence and talk to you and told you that, hey, no matter what you do, you got it. You can get away.
Gene Deal.
No,
Deal,
see,
Puffy's goddamn bodyguard told him. Puffy bodyguard told him. Gene Deal.
You think?
That's who woke Biggie up. But Biggie could see what was going on. Biggie could see what was going on. You know what I'm saying? Biggie knew Puffy was a goddamn gay. You know what I'm saying? Biggie knew all that shit. He said, man, I'm about to get out of this shit. Hell no. You're not going to associate with you. This shit blow up.
So let's get back on the presidency, y'all. We're at a time where now you have history in the making. Right here, this is history in the making, period. This is history in the making, period, no matter how you look at it. I don't care if you don't care about politics. You know exactly what's going on a little bit because somehow it comes across your newsfeed. This is history in the making.
Democrats should be ashamed.
Black stripes when they charged them with all them charges, bro. I ain't even gonna lie. I think that was the tip of the iceberg that set it in motion.
But you have seen a lot of people don't get that misdemeanors turning to felonies don't make sense.
Yeah.
It does not make sense to me.
To me, that means like these black stripes. Because I'm not gonna lie.
Well, how
I had
Pamela
to talk to people that said Trump.
How Pamela gonna get her stripes? What is she gonna do? She gotta do something.
Man.
It's 4 months, 3 months to the election. You're gonna run for president.
She better get her toe shot or something. Cause right now Trump got it, bro. Trump's still gonna be one up on her. So I don't know, bro.
If I was her,
misdemeanors.
If I was her, I would make that. It's only one phone call, and people ain't gonna say it. Some people are gonna say it. I'm gonna say it, but I am gonna do okay, man. I am gonna run this name and not say it and give y'all all. It's only one phone call she can make. One. Uno, dos. Uno. If you want to take down the white devil, if you want to take down orange hair man bad, if you want to take down white supremacists, if you want to take it down Christian nationalist, there's only one phone. One phone call. One. Uno. I'm sorry. There's nobody else. One.
See.
Now y'all can play games. Y'all can like, man, I don't know. Y'all know who that one phone call is.
See.
You know.
I don't fuck with her either. Because when she was in California, she locked niggas up and Mexicans up.
That sounds good to me. Yet again, I like that. That doesn't sound bad to me. Lock them niggas up. As long as they niggas. Until you start locking up black people, then yeah, I got a problem. Lock up niggas. Hey, I don't care. Lock them up.
Niggas and Mexicans, knocking them up.
Nah,
Throwing away
I don't know. I don't know the gangster Mexican slang, so I can't divide. No, when it comes to Mexicans, if they're illegal, lock them up. If they're doing something, lock up criminals. Don't lock up no innocent bystander. Don't lock up 6 people because they walking down the street and not committing crime.
That's what I'm talking about, Mike. There a lot of them was innocent.
Yeah, I mean situations like that, no. But yet again, if the statistics in the neighborhood is high for a bunch of people walking down the street, 9 times out of 10 could be committing crime, or you finna take a bunch of drugs off the streets, because that's how it's supposed to be looking statistically. If 6 people is walking, you're taking drugs up off the streets. Yeah, risk it. If you called me and I was the captain, there's 6 of them walking, 16, they dressed in all black, they heading towards the mall. Yeah, pull them over real quick. Just check them. Just pat them down.
About a time I was in Chicago.
If they ain't got nothing, let them go on about their business.
It was like 4 of us. And this was
That's
before
racial
weed
profiling.
was legal. This was before weed was legal. We walking up the street. Cooler. We not fucking with nobody. We doing our thing. Police pull up. Woo woo. Bro, who got it? Which one of y'all got it, bro? And we ain't say nothing. They're like, all right, well, we gonna search all y'all. All right, cool.
Who can she call?
Mike, no.
Who can she call? Who is going to be her VP? She can make history for herself
Hillary.
with a fucking
Hillary.
wow, really?
Hey, I know who he talking about, but right now, she got to worry about not getting knocked down a couple notches off this motherfucking YSL case.
I'm not even saying that name.
Oh.
I'm saying there's only no. See, that name right there that you're naming, the chips have to play out. And it's not enough time for those chips to play out. You see what I'm saying? That case is never going to be over in time. As you see now, is what we learned last night.
It's literally on a standstill.
So I wouldn't use her because they're going to throw all that. No, Trump will eat that alive. You need something that Trump can't eat alive.
But that's the thing. Trump can eat it alive, bro. She just got to flip it.
She can't.
How come?
I mean, she can't. No, she can't.
How come?
Not enough time. Not enough time. There's only one phone call.
Wait. You made a statement last night about her.
What?
She always got something up her sleeve.
Up your sleeve?
I literally had to go pay attention to it.
I feel you.
Like, damn, hold on. I fucks with her.
I feel you. But I gotta say is when I say not enough time, 8 months, probably. You got 3 months. Not enough time.
Hillary.
She gotta be Wonder Woman, Supergirl, Superwoman, some type of shit. She ain't got them skills. She can't come out here on a press conference for an hour, 90 minutes and wait.
There you go, Capiche. How about Candace Owens?
Candace Owens wouldn't go to the Democratic Party.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. That's right.
Nah, but if y'all wanted me to go down that rabbit hole with you and answer that question on another level, yeah, Candace will kill it. Candace will kill it. But yet again, people will be looking at her as like, who's smarter? You don't want nobody to be smarter than you up under you. Even though that's not bad, ain't nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, but we're trying to win an election together, not win an election and everybody looking at me like we need to switch spots. No, we need not to make me look like I need to switch spots. I need to look good and you need to look good. Okay, Candace. See, Candace gone. She already Candace, because Candace know Candace know how to get there. She may say, nah. Candace got a white husband, 3 kids. They Catholic.
Okay. Okay. Here you go, Capiche. Here's one for you. Here's one for you.
Okay.
What about the white girl? What about Biden's? Was it Biden's daughter? Is it Biden's daughter that's on the View, or is it who? One is I think it's a Biden's daughter. One of the president's daughters, Democrat, and she's on the View. You know what I'm saying? I think she would have got she'd be all right because she already got the popularity. She already on TV. I think it's Biden's. Is it Biden's daughter?
I don't think it's Biden's daughter, but
It's McClain. Is it McClain's daughter? I think it's McClain's daughter. One of them. Is either Biden's daughter, or one of them old president's daughters. But she used to be a host on the View, man, and she's very like conservative Democrat. I don't know if you want to put those in the same goddamn sentence though, but she's very, very goddamn donkey. You know what I'm saying? So I think because the elephant represents the Republicans and donkey represents the Democrats. But
it's just
yeah,
how you say it, though.
Oh, yeah, I think she would be good for Kamala. Call her up. Come help me out. You know what I'm saying? You already got the.
Hold on, let me see if I can help us out, so you can pick out your little candidate.
McClain. I want to say it's McClain. McClain's daughter or niece.
Okay, wrong one. The wrong one. It's the wrong one. It's the wrong one, girl. All right, this is the View minus Whoopi Goldberg. That's not on her because we know you're not talking about her.
Yeah, we're not talking about her.
Who you talking about?
Is this today's View, like right now?
Yeah, this is the debut. Her, Mexican.
No, I don't see her. She ain't on the show no more. She not on the show no more. I don't see her. She used to sit right there. She used to sit not in the middle, but like right there.
If she not on the show no more, don't run.
She ain't on the show no more. Her name is what the fuck is her daddy is a famous ex-president or senator, governor. The fuck is his name? I want to say McClain. We never had a candidate named McClain though. Let me grab my phone. I can't use my phone because I'm using it to be on the show.
If she had to pick a guy to do it, then I'd be like, I hate to say it, she better go pick Gavin Newsom from California. The women love him, from what I keep hearing all over the internet.
Yeah. I was thinking about that Leon dude.
Leon.
Yeah.
It's only one phone call. I'm sorry. And more and more that we keep going down these names, which I'm glad we're doing it.
Lemon. That nigga, Lemon. I'm not Leon Lemon, that motherfucker.
Not Don Lemon. Not somebody we can go sit Candace Owens on real quick just to go shut him up. Like she did on his own podcast.
Oh,
on his podcast.
Oh, Dr. Umar. Dr. Umar did. That's Dr. Umar.
Dr. Umar? Oh yeah, he gonna make a racist motherfucker if you don't vote for that.
Yeah, he's not even Democrat or Republican. He's African, so yeah, that ain't gonna work.
It's gonna work. It's gonna work because he gonna. Oh my God, he gonna. For all my black people, if you don't go vote for this queen and this king and then get my school up, you're racist. Oh my God, get a trip. We're gonna be sitting over here. I'm sitting here on my podcast. I'm gonna look at this man. He's gonna look at me with that face like, you heard what he said, man. I'm not trying to be racist. It's a lot of them. No, 95210 gonna be on her. Who you rolling with? I'm like, bro, really?
Yeah.
Really? Here we go.
Yeah.
Dr. Umar got the ship.
What you think about Kanye?
Huh?
I think Kanye's a Republican though. But
He a
let's just say for
Republican,
shits
but
and giggles, let's say for shits and giggles, it's Kanye.
they'll shoot at him
Why you
too.
gonna put a Muslim on
Damn. That nigga said they'll shoot at him too. Damn.
They would.
Oh, wait a minute. They wouldn't shoot Omar Johnson, but they would shoot goddamn Kanye. That's crazy.
Oh no, you ain't shooting Dr. Umar because he got the doctor in his name. Even though we don't know what he a doctor of. Yeah, you're not shooting no doctor.
Ah,
I know he a doctor. I know he a doctor.
What,
Yet again,
psychology?
you're not shooting no doctor.
No. You said you don't know what he a doctor of. I just told you.
There's a lot of things you gonna shoot, but
that's crazy.
as you see in the world, a lot of people get shot. You know, unfortunately, sadly. But we talking about attempt. We're gonna even say the other A word, just an attempt on a doctor, just because he got this racist guilt trip going on. Nah, nigga. Like nobody balls big enough. You ain't finna do that. Unless you like that kid where the community is messing with your brains, where you're hearing the back and forth between your community and it's driving you crazy because you're super politic. And that's what think about that kid. You had a kid here that was more into politics than everybody else in his community. Even though he was young, he was still in it more than everybody else. But yet again, when it came down to it, this election right here, everybody got involved. Everybody had opinion. And it just overwhelmed him that some of the opinions that he was hearing just wasn't matching what he's been studying for so long because he's so in it. And it drove him crazy. And he was like, nah. Project 25 and all of this and white supremacists.
What
And
do they got to do with you trying to kill Trump? Though?
hey, he's destroying my community.
No, you're destroying your community.
No, I know more. And
I don't
his
care that you know
RIP.
more. What you think is right might not be looking in everybody else's eyes is right. Like,
Hey.
nigga, you fucking up the community just like we is. What? Oh, was it he was mad because somebody professional was doing it and not him? And he felt like I should be there right now.
I think it's more like if he used to didn't have to talk to people about it, he used to get ignored to where now he go places people are talking about it. He put his 2 cents in it and people have 5 cents. And it's just like shocking that 5 cents didn't equal up to his 2 cents so they can go ahead and make 10 cents. It was like, nope, keep your change over there and keep my change over here because yet again, we have different opinions. And that was shocking. That was alarming. And it kept happening over and over. And he was like,
Okay,
is Trump really doing this?
Oh no, wait, is it any different? Because you made a choice. Don't nobody know your reasons. You can't blame nobody else. You can't blame everybody because of this and that. You can't. You got to take some type of responsibility. And I don't think this was just drawn up overnight.
No.
Nigga, he been sitting at home. I'm gonna be at this building.
That's what I'm saying. It was the community.
90% angle with it, you know,
It was
the
the
90
community.
degrees, got to let him have it. Didn't work.
Y'all can't keep trying to tell me that Trump is better. Yeah, he's a good. I got conservative values, and I am learning that conservative values go on a Democratic side and a Republican side. It's just, what are your values? What makes you sleep easy at night? That's it. That's the basic. Smoking a big fat blunt, putting 7 grams in a blunt, smoking that motherfucker, sipping on some wine.
Hey, you got to correct that. Only 7 grams going woods.
He showed us 7 grand.
Whatever. You know what I'm saying? If a 3.5 and standing out on the block all night makes you feel like you the American motherfucking way, then that's the American motherfucking way. People gotta that's where I want my hood people to see. Like, there might be a time where you need to fight for this country because you're fighting because you used to like to stand on this block and do what you was doing. You like hustling, right? You like making that quick look $700 because you ain't got to go get a 9 to 5. You make $700 in 3 hours. You like that. You love that, right? But why you gonna let this other country come over here and invade this and take that block? Oh, and you know what we have heard? I have heard. Oh yeah, man, they can come on over here as long as they don't touch the block. You think once another country come invading us, you think the block gonna be jumping? No, people got other pride. Yeah, that $700 gonna go down to $200.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie.
Like, stop playing.
I don't know. No, block ain't gonna be jumping, but then it depends on what time of day they come.
Yeah.
If they come through the middle of the day, oh yeah, that bitch humping right now, nigga.
Come on.
And they come anywhere between the 1st and the 15th. The block is high right now.
I'm just saying.
Bring that over here.
Them dolphins gonna come to the block, y'all. Hey man, you know we being invaded, right? This might be my last day. Man, you gonna be threatening the dope, man. Bro, you better come around here. I got this big ass bag. I just read up. I don't care about Russia invading us until I get this off. I'm right here. That mentality, instead of like, oh, Russia over here, I'm not gonna be able to get this off until Russia get up out of here. They gonna make the block slow. You see the switch around, and we need to switch it. Like, you gotta understand.
What if Russia come over here and the block take their ass out?
That sounds good, but why did y'all wait until they come to the block? Speaking those in the Midwest, okay, not you East Coast, West, not you East Coast and West Coast and down, because they getting it first. They the first rush. I ain't worried about the South. I'm not really worried about the West. I know they can hold it down. They strap North. There's like because statistically Minnesota has the most gun per capita per person.
Dang, I thought it was Chicago.
Huh?
I thought that was Chicago.
You would have thought of Chicago, but it's really Minnesota. I mean, no, not Minnesota. I'm sorry. Let me take that back. Montana. Montana has the most. Right? No, has gun per capita per person. Like, I think in America is 100 guns per person. That's how many guns over here in America. Every person on the block can have at least 100 guns, and it still be enough guns to go around.
Yeah.
So that's one small reason why other countries really don't come over here and invade us like that. Cause it's like shit, like nigga, we have Maggie from The Simpsons. Hold this strap, baby. Bussing with a pacifier in her mouth, like, stop playing. The whole squad, whole house finna shoot out the window. We don't care who come.
But you gotta think about it. That place you just named, I bet you it ain't as much crime now.
Where
you just named.
Only, and see, a lot of people say that. Oh, it's not that much crime. They don't have the utilities to cause crime. It's a difference when they taking good freedom to help provide crime. Yes, they taking guns away. But yet again, the criminals who want to commit crime, they got guns. So yet again, there's the innocent people that can't protect themselves. It's the government, when they feel like you're doing something that I don't like, I can come in and take you out. Because why? You don't have a gun to protect. Mm-hmm. You can't shoot it out with the government. Tell your kid, hey man, go run out the back door, get in a car, and go run over to the Auntie William house, and hey, tell them go pick up Granny. It's time to, hey, I fucked up. I robbed too many banks, or I did whatever. They come to get us. They trying to knock out the family tree. It's a difference when you're looking at that compared to a country that, like, you know what, they got us. Shut up. Put pacify in baby's mouth. His baby cried. They shoot. You know, that's sad. Oh, they coming in with big ass knife. Oh, I'm finna decapitate you. I'm finna put it on YouTube to show America the world that we not a skirt further, y'all. Damn. Now, what if they would have had a gun to protect themselves? I bet you wouldn't have did that shit. You wouldn't have ran up in that motherfucker. You would have got shot. Huh? they came in my house. They tried to take me. I shot. Oh yeah. Okay, I get it. Okay, cool. All right. Idiot. I seen a video not too long ago. African dude, like, you butt naked in my house. Why are you in my house? Videotape him. What? You asking him why is he butt naked? He butt naked because they had to blur it out. So he butt naked. Why were you in my house? Who were you sleeping with?
What the man say?
He's like, I was sleeping with nobody. He's like, I got my wife and my daughters. Which one? He tried to figure it out. He hit him. And nigga went to go get a bamboo stick. He telling me, I didn't sleep. You laying in my bed. I built out of wood. Took me 7 years. I built with these hands.
Damn.
No Mexican, just me.
That's fucked up.
And niggas told me say no Mexican, just me.
Just these hands. Just me and the sun.
Hey, no, that's fucked up.
And my God.
I watched the video where this girl was cheating. Her husband called her and he detached her head from her body on camera.
In America?
No.
See?
Damn.
Even though she was wrong, if they had guns over there, don't kill me. You know, kick me out. My TT's good. I still got a pussy. Oh, hey, kick me out. Don't, hey, shit, the fuck.
He literally took her motherfucking head off.
So we can't really like
swing big ass blade.
Oh man, he kept that mug sharp and been ready. Been ready. Yeah. Okay. Yep. There's $20 on there for you, kiddo. Can he just take it without me, right? I think he can.
I'm like, you asking me, nigga?
Hold on. Y'all keep talking. Y'all don't need.
We was listening to you talk.
Let me Alan get back to you.
Privately felt about her handling of some of these key issues.
Well, I think they were, in the beginning, wanted her out there a bit more, and especially down on the border. But I'll tell you, Rachel, in the last week, what I have been told by a senior administration official is that all of this pressure on Biden and post-debate, that they thought Kamala Harris was pitch perfect. Perfect. They thought she was a supporter of President Biden, never wavered from that, and yet went out there and gave the message of the Democratic Party, supported him, and yet was ready to go in if needed. I'm also, Rachel, kind of looking back on this morning and our show on This Week, and I'm looking at Congressman Ro Khanna, who I asked right after Senator Joe Manchin said, it was with a heavy heart, but he wanted to see the president step aside. Ro Khanna said he still stood by the president's decision to stay in. I talked to him about the polling, saying 61% of the voters in our national poll thought he should step aside. And he said, I've seen that polling. Here's the challenge. That polling was almost the same a year and a half ago. There's no question that voters don't like the fact that Joe Biden is 81, but he said, what I have not seen is a poll showing that another candidate, other than perhaps Michelle Obama, would clearly be the choice of the Democratic electorate. I also played for him from our George Stephanopoulos' interview post-debate, the first interview with President Biden post-debate, and he said, if Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi come down and say, we're worried that if you stay in the race, we're going to lose the House and the Senate, how will you respond? And basically the president said they're not going to do that. But Ro Khanna, the congressman from California and a huge supporter of President Biden, went on to say, this is the president's decision. You know, I've read all these journalists saying Biden world is saying this or he's reconsidering. There are 3 or 4 people who actually have this decision: the president, his wife, a couple of close friends, and it's his decision about what he wants to do. And I trust him. I trust his patriotism to make the right decision. So as I reread these transcripts, Rachel, I'm kind of reading between the lines of what he was thinking this morning. Surely he did not know, was not aware of the decision that would be made today because, as you know, so many people were taken by surprise.
Absolutely. So many of us are going back and reading things that President Biden said. I remember in that interview with our George Stephanopoulos, he also said that he wouldn't step aside unless the Lord God Almighty came down and told him to do it. So you've got to think, Martha, that some of this polling, this pressure, 40 Democrats urging him to step aside had something to do with him making this decision.
Exactly. And again, I just repeat here that the senior administration official said to me that the last couple of days had truly taken a toll on him, not only on his health and his decision making, but they believe he does not, even now, I don't think he has been intellectually diminished, but his health and his energy, he could tell that the campaign would take even more of that out of him and that it was not a campaign he could run.
Martha, stay with us. I want to go right back to our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce. Mary, you've been tracking the reaction that has been coming in, and now we are hearing from the Clintons.
Yeah, the party heavyweights, it seems, are some of them falling in line behind this idea of endorsing Kamala Harris. We have a statement now from former President Clinton and Secretary Clinton praising President Biden. No surprise there. But the Clintons go on to say that they, excuse me 1 minute, let me get this up. They praise. Hold on, I'm challenged with my phone like so many. Here we go. They say that President Biden has capped the extraordinary career of service with a presidency that has lifted America out of an unprecedented pandemic, created millions of new jobs, rebuilt a battered economy, and he goes on and on and on. And then the Clintons say, we are honored to join the president in endorsing Vice President Harris and will do whatever we can to support her, saying now is the time to support Kamala Harris and fight with everything we've got to elect her, concluding by saying America's future depends on it. And Rachel, we are also now learning that the president reached out and spoke with Democratic leader Chuck Schumer earlier today. We are also now hearing from former Speaker Nancy Pelosi for the first time in a statement praising President Biden, saying he's a patriotic American who has always put our country first. His legacy of vision, values, and leadership makes him one of the most consequential presidents in American history. She says, with love and gratitude to President Biden for always believing in the promise of America and giving people the opportunity to reach their fulfillment. Excuse me. Nancy Pelosi, though, not mentioning Kamala Harris at all in her statement. We will have to wait and see if that changes in the coming hours, Rachel.
Mary, thank you. And I want to bring in our political director and our Washington bureau chief, Rick Klein. Rick, so much to be said about former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, because leading into this, as these discussions were playing out privately behind closed doors among Democrats, Democrats fully acknowledged that there were really only a few people that they thought could break through to President Biden. And one of those people was former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, someone who notably herself had passed the torch to the next wave of Democratic leadership, passing it on to now Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. What do you make of this statement from the former House Speaker now, and also her comments in recent days where she's been very measured?
Rachel, when the history of this fateful 24 days is told, Nancy Pelosi, I think, is going to be seen as having an even bigger effect than we even knew on Joe Biden's thinking and decision making at almost every step along the way since that disastrous debate happened a couple of weeks ago. We saw Pelosi doing what he could to try to get Joe Biden to what she viewed as the right position. And keep in mind who Nancy Pelosi is. Nancy Pelosi is actually a couple years older than Joe Biden, been in politics not quite as long, but knows him very well from his days as a United States Senator. senator. They worked closely when she was House Speaker, doing more than anyone else probably to enact the Obama-Biden agenda. She wasn't saying it from the perspective of some upstart that wants to get Biden out for political advantage. She was saying this from the perspective of an elder statesman who knows what it's like to be elder and knows what it's like to be going through the signs of aging and trying to urge along Joe Biden through her surrogates, through people very close to her, through very carefully crafted leaks and very carefully crafted statements along the way. She was trying to get Joe Biden to the right place because she knew that this was a decision that could only be made by one man at this stage of the cycle. And I would say there was probably only one woman who could get him there other than the family members, and that is Nancy Pelosi. And the last line of the statement, really striking to me, Rachel, God blessed America with Joe Biden's greatness and goodness. I think there's a lot in that statement, in the appeal to Biden to do this for his legacy, to do this for the country, to give Democrats the absolute best shot they have of defeating Donald Trump.
Rick, thank you. And if you're just joining us now, we've had an extraordinary amount of developments over the last hour. President Biden has announced that he is stepping aside as the Democratic nominee in this race. He did it posting a letter to social media saying that he will no longer be in this race, but that he'll continue to fulfill out his term. He also then, just moments after that, in a separate social media post, said that he would be endorsing his own Vice President, Kamala Harris. We have been tracking the reaction that has been coming in on both sides of the aisle. And I do want to go back to our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce. Mary, we've been following these statements. You've been tracking them yourself, and now you're learning more about whether or not the president and the vice president have actually spoken.
Rachel, a source familiar tells us that, yes, in fact, the president and the vice president, Kamala Harris, have now spoken. Just imagine what this day has been like. You know, over the weekend, the message coming out of the campaign was that they were all in. Their foot was on the gas. The president adamant that he was not stepping out of this race. You even had some of his surrogates out on the Sunday talk shows this morning making that same argument. They were full steam ahead. And then I am told that this was all extremely closely held. The president, only alerting campaign officials shortly before that letter went public. We don't believe the vice president got much of a heads up either. We have not heard from her, though. We still have not heard any kind of reaction from her, any reaction just to the announcement that the president is exiting this race or to the fact that he is throwing his support behind her. The fact that you are seeing other big party heavyweights coming out and backing Kamala Harris as well. She hasn't announced she's running for the top of the Democratic ticket, but certainly the party and the president and many party leaders are pushing her in that direction. So we await her response. We know she is here in Washington, D.C. She wasn't expected to be out on the trail again until Tuesday in Milwaukee. I suspect a lot of things on her schedule are now up in the air, Rachel.
Mary Bruce, following this reaction and getting that word just moments ago that Vice President Kamala Harris has in fact spoken with President Biden, also tracking the latest reaction coming in from Democrats. Mary, stay with us. Thank you. I want to bring now in Terry Moran. Terry, we heard from Republicans even on the Sunday shows earlier this morning, warning that they could file these legal challenges if there was some sort of switch up on the ticket for Democrats. What do you make of that? And could there be challenges going forward?
Well, there certainly will be challenges going forward, Rachel. The Heritage Foundation, which is the parent of the Project 2025 memo that has gone out describing what a future Trump administration would look like. The Heritage Foundation has already threatened lawsuits in 3 states, swing states, Wisconsin, Georgia, and Nevada. And they point to the laws in those states, which says that the nominee shall not be replaced unless there is a death. And there are those kinds of restrictions. The problem with them, election lawyers almost unanimously say, because anybody can bring a lawsuit, but people who work in this area say, obviously, Joe Biden is not the nominee until he's officially nominated. And so withdrawing after the primaries, because of what is basically a health reason, he doesn't feel he has the capacity, the physical capacity anymore to go forward, would not, these election lawyers say, qualify as a violation of state laws. Now, those state laws do have timing issues. Obviously, getting on those state ballots is going to be crucial. So Democrats, who have already prepared to do that by having this virtual roll call in early August, they prepared for that. But if Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, is not essentially unanimously acclaimed as the nominee, if someone does step in or prepares to step in to challenge her, that might be a problem. Because if they have to go to their convention, which begins August 19th, they will miss the deadline for ballot access in at least Ohio. And so that could be a problem. But the basic challenge that you're hearing from Republicans that it's too late for Biden to get out of the race because state ballot access is a problem. Election lawyers say, no, he's not the nominee. No one's the nominee until the convention says so.
Terry, a follow-up to you. How much does this have to do with the fact, I mean, I've heard from my sources within the Republican Party, even with the Trump campaign, that they wanted President Biden to stay on the ticket, that they wanted the former president to run against former President Donald Trump. How much does this have to do with the legality of all of this versus who they ultimately want to face off with in November?
Well, obviously, they looked at the polls. They liked what they saw in the polls, especially in recent days against President Biden. And yet, what they're really trying to do is just muck up as much as possible the works for Democrats as they go forward in this unprecedented situation. Look at the convention, right? The rules of the convention are pretty simple at this point. If President Biden releases his delegates, they don't have to support Kamala Harris. The only thing they have to do under Rule 13J, which you're going to hear a lot about probably, is vote their conscience. In good conscience, they must vote to support a candidate. So if there's anyone who wants to challenge Kamala Harris, there'll be these test votes on accepting those rules, and then you'd head to the floor. But as for the Republican efforts to sue their way to keep Harris off of state ballots, that's probably just an effort, to make the Democrats look disorganized. There's also been talk of impeaching President Biden on the grounds that he is now incompetent to serve if he's incompetent to run. Again, almost certainly wouldn't happen, and yet would muck up the works. So expect to see the Republicans take as much advantage of the chaos here, even though they are concerned about the redefinition of this race. Look how fast politics moves. Kamala Harris now center stage, others perhaps circling, testing the waters, calling people up. Joe Biden, after 50 years in politics, in which he reached the highest level, is now yesterday's man. And take a moment to think of how this proud man is feeling at the end of this career.
Yeah, it's an extraordinary moment, no doubt about that. Terry Moran, please stay with us. Thank you. I want to bring in now the former governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie, who joins us now on the phone. Mr. Christie, this news just coming in. What is your response to some of these Republicans who are saying that they want to challenge this in court, some even calling for the president to step down immediately from office?
Well, look, I think the first thing is when you look at the legal challenges, I've looked at this across the country over a number of years. And what you find that courts will generally do is if they believe that voters would be left with no choice in a particular election, they always err on the side of giving the voters a choice and allowing the voters to make the decision. And I've seen that in statewide races. And this is essentially the decision, a decision by a court in any state about whether or not all the people of their state are going to have a choice for president of the United States. So while I will not be at all surprised to see the Republican infrastructure of the Trump campaign file these lawsuits, I'm skeptical that any of them will have any success in precluding whoever the Democratic nominee is from the ballot. Remember, too, Rachel, that no one's been nominated yet by the Democrats. It's not like the nominee has withdrawn. He's not been nominated, and he wouldn't be officially nominated until the convention votes a majority of the delegates to him. So I think that's something that will help whoever winds up replacing Joe Biden in terms of any of these state challenges.
Mr. Christie, this has been an unprecedented election cycle, to say the least. You have on one end the former president of the United States who had been indicted, who is now running as a convicted felon. On the other end of this, you have Democrats now dealing with the president of the United States withdrawing from the race. We are just about 100 days out until the November election. President Biden making it clear that he endorses his own vice president, Kamala Harris. As much as we can focus on the challenges also for Democrats, Republicans also now are going to have a new challenger that they're going to be facing off with in just about 100 days. How much of a big of a challenge is that for them as well?
Yeah, Rachel, look, it fundamentally changes the race. Now, what none of us yet know is how. But clearly it fundamentally changes the race. The focus of this race right now was going to be two things. Donald Trump's legal challenges and problems, and what does that mean potentially for a second Trump term, and Joe Biden's age and declining capability. Well, point two is now out. People in the media, people in the Republican Party will attempt to continue to make Joe Biden's declining capability an issue. But he's not the candidate anymore. And so, it fundamentally changes the race. But here's the thing. We need to know who the candidate's going to be, and then we have to see how they're going to perform. And that's what's going to happen here is a reset. Folks will get a chance to look at the new candidate, if it's Vice President Harris or whoever it is. And that person is going to have to make a very, very good first impression. Because if they make a bad first impression, this race could well be over. So people are going to be watching. It's going to make the race very different and fundamentally change it. But we don't know in what direction.
Governor Christie, thank you. I want to bring in now Senator Heidi Heitkamp. Senator Heitkamp, we were talking earlier just about how unprecedented this all is, dealing with these fast-moving developments as well for your party. Some of the challenges going forward, and let me ask you just a follow-up to what I was just talking about Governor Christie about with. When we talk about the debate that just happened just a matter of weeks ago, that really set off the sort of chain reaction with Democrats calling on the president to step aside. There is one more debate, and Vice President Kamala Harris does commit to that should she be the Democratic nominee or whoever is in that position. That could come at a very pivotal point in this race, too.
Yeah, absolutely. But she's a good debater, and she is a very, very sharp, intelligent woman. But, when you look at moving forward, and what Chris was just saying is you don't win any points by trying to stop someone from getting ballot access. I don't care what the Heritage Society said. I saw polling when Maine and Colorado and Minnesota tried to keep President Trump from being on the ballot, former President Trump. And the independents and undecideds reacted very negatively to that. Plus, why would you turn your attention right now on Joe Biden? The competition is going to be someone else. The other point that I want to make, Rachel, is, and you'll hear more about this as time goes on, the FEC has rules. This money that the Biden campaign has raised was raised for this ticket. If Kamala Harris is not the nominee or on this ticket, that will change the dynamics of how the money can and should be spent. And so that's going to be another factor in the determination that the Democrats will have to make on who their candidate is.
A follow-up for you there. Explain that a little bit more. So this could have an impact even on how the money is spent going forward in this campaign for whoever the Democratic nominee is.
Yeah, the FEC has rules. If you raise money for a candidate and then the candidate is no longer the candidate, in this case, they raise money for a ticket, then something has to happen with that money, and it doesn't automatically translate to the next person who might be nominated. It would have to go to state parties, as I understand it. It could be spent other ways. But remember this. Rates have been locked in for this candidate. By that, I mean ad rates. And so all of that gets upset if Kamala Harris is not the nominee. And so these are the things that will seep out in the next couple of days in terms of making this decision. It's not just the DNC rules. You have to look at the rules of the FEC.
Not just the DNC rules, the rules of the FEC, also the Democratic Party as a whole, whether or not they're going to rally behind Vice President Kamala Harris as President Biden is endorsing him. There's so much to digest here on this very extraordinary day in American politics, a historic moment in this nation. I want to turn now to our executive editorial producer, John Santucci. John, for months now, you have had this rematch between President Biden and former President Donald Trump. All that now changing. How is the Trump campaign responding to this?
So the Trump campaign, we've already seen those initial statements, Rachel, of course, Donald Trump attacking Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. We know from our sources that the Trump team has been building a book to take on Kamala Harris, attack her for some of her past statements, and do everything they can to tie her to Joe Biden. Now, look, the Trump team is going to have to very quickly, Rachel, take the money and pivot to attack Kamala Harris. I can tell you from my sources, MAGA Inc., that's Make America Great Again Inc., that is a super PAC aligned with Donald Trump. They've already taken, Rachel, a $5 million ad buy for next week, and they are now turning that on Kamala Harris, an ad that they have already put across social media. And that buy, Rachel, going to target states like Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Arizona. Now, one source high up in the super PAC told me that they're not only going to take that buy, they're going to keep expanding it to other states. and telling me, quote, there's going to be tremendous chaos within the Democratic Party, and our job now is to seize on that. The source goes on to tell me, Rachel, that the whole goal of their efforts is going to say that Kamala Harris was in on the cover-up of Joe Biden's health and start attacking her and her record, adding that our job now is to start prosecuting the case against her, Rachel.
Notable because she obviously is a former prosecutor, something that Senator Heidi Heitkamp says she'll definitely use if she ends up facing off against former President Donald Trump on the debate stage, should she actually become the Democratic nominee. John Santucci, stay with us. Thank you, John Santucci, with that reaction just coming in from the Trump campaign and how they're already preparing for the possibility that it could be Vice President Kamala Harris that former President Donald Trump faces off against in November. I want to bring now in our ABC White House correspondent, Mary Alice Parks. Mary Alice, you have been keeping your ear to the ground, talking to sources within the Democratic Party, but also hearing from delegates who have a lot of questions about how this plays out going forward.
Yeah, Rachel, I just got off the phone with one Democratic state party chair who told me that he was not given a heads up to this news, which is obviously a big deal considering the fact everything we've been talking about for the last hour. But interesting, he did say that he was given a call from the Biden universe or the minute after the news broke. The Biden team wanting to make sure that he was aware of the news, but also that he was checking in with the delegates from his state. Obviously, the conversation, the mechanics of this nomination turned to those delegates like we've been talking about. The state party chair said that in the conversation he's been having with his delegates from his state, I should say it's a large Democratic state, so far, all the Biden delegates telling me that they will cede to these marching orders from the president, that they will back Harris. That is their intention. Like we've been talking about on the air, like you've been talking about with all of your guests, this is a fluid situation. Anything could happen. If all of a sudden we get another name from a governor, a popular member of the Senate, actually challenging Harris, we will have to, of course, go back to these delegates. But in my initial reporting, I can tell you that so far we're hearing these Biden delegates saying that it is in their best interest to stick with the president, or to stick with Harris, because that's what the president asked them to do. I also talked to one longtime DNC leader who told me that when it comes to vetting, he really believes the party has to stick with Harris because she is the only one that has truly been vetted. You know, I asked about governors, senators, and people that are high-profile figures. Surely they have been vetted. But he insisted to me it's just not the same, that a vice president who has been on a national ticket has been vetted across the board, and that right now the Democratic Party just cannot risk a mistake here, and that even a governor, this one DNC leader sort of opined to me, even a governor could, in theory, have some skeleton in the closet that he said the party just should not take that kind of risk. One interesting thing, though, will be not only, of course, who she picks as a running mate once she announces her candidacy, but this question of superdelegates. I mean, this is getting in the weeds, but we don't know exactly if superdelegates, those elected party officials, will be able to vote on the first ballot or not. They have not formalized the rules around that virtual roll call, around any roll call. We know that those rules were set to be put in place this week. So at this stage, Rachel, we are going to be tracking every meeting that the convention staff has, that the DNC party staff has, as they have to rewrite these rules or vote on these rules with such a different sense of urgency, with such a different political landscape, Rachel.
Yeah, Mary Allison, I know you personally will be tracking that for us as well. I want to go back to our Chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl. Jonathan, I've been thinking about some of the conversations that I was having on Capitol Hill with many senators, and there were some senators who didn't want to come out publicly and call on the president to step aside until there was sort of this plan in place on who potentially would step up and become the Democratic nominee. We've been following these movements in real time, this breaking news, the president announcing he's going to step aside. Then we saw that post on social media, the president then endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris. And then it was sort of this silence from some of these statements where they were commending President Biden, but not necessarily jumping to the defense or endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris for the job. Has that changed in the span of the last few minutes?
It's starting to change, Rachel. We're starting to see statements from some key senators that are not only commending Joe Biden for taking the decision, the sacrificing his campaign to get out of a race they believed he was going to lose, but also endorsing Kamala Harris. Let me just mention a few key ones. Tammy Baldwin, the Democratic senator from the ever so important state of Wisconsin, put out just blanket endorsement today. I'm proud to endorse Vice President Kamala Harris for president of the United States. And then we have the two senators from Virginia, another key state Democrats must hold if they're going to win in November. Tim Kaine, of course, who had been Hillary Clinton's running mate, saying in his statement, "I'm looking forward to working with my friend Kamala Harris and a great ticket mate to keep Virginia blue." And the senior senator from the state of Virginia, Mark Warner, putting out his statement again, praising Joe Biden, saying the nation owes Joe Biden a debt of gratitude. But when he's done with all that, he ends his statement by saying, "I believe Vice President Harris has the experience, energy, and resolve to lead our nation. This November, we must defeat Donald Trump and his backwards agenda." Now, in his statement, Warner says that the decision is ultimately up to the DNC delegates, which is just a fact. But all three of those very key senators saying it's Kamala Harris. And I'll add a fourth, since you asked, Elizabeth Warren, of course, who ran herself against Joe Biden in 2020, saying that Vice President Harris is the person who was chosen by the voters to succeed Joe Biden if needed. She can unite our party, take on Donald Trump, and win in November. So there, you still have some notable individuals, leaders in the party, potential national figures who have not endorsed Kamala Harris or even mentioned her in their statements. But now you are starting to see a bit of a coalescing around the idea that Kamala Harris should be the one on top of the ticket now that Biden is out.
John, you were the very first one to report and break the news that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer had urged President Biden to step aside. How critical will it be for these Democrats to hear from party leaders, as serious voices in this party, like the Clintons, like Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, Jim Clyburn, even Nancy Pelosi?
Well, I think it's incredibly important. These are the leaders of the party, and I believe what you will see from them is an idea that this process, which is obviously has to be expedited, needs to be orderly. There still is a view among some of those leaders you just mentioned that it's actually best for Kamala Harris, if she is to be ultimately the nominee, or for whoever it is, to have some kind of a process and it not be seen simply as a coronation, a hand and you're the one, Kamala Harris, to have some kind of a process. I would be surprised if there is a serious challenge mounted to Kamala Harris, but they have to go through this. The delegates ultimately have to vote. As we talked about earlier, Rachel, Kamala Harris doesn't have a single delegate right now. I mean, those were Biden delegates. It was Joe Biden that ran in the primaries. It was Joe Biden that got 14 million votes in the Democratic primary. Now, the point that Elizabeth Warren mentioned in her statement is Kamala Harris obviously was chosen by the delegates in 2020, and she won and was elected vice president in November of 2020. Voters saying, we're voting for Biden at the top, and we're voting for Kamala Harris to replace Biden if anything should happen to him as president. That's different than this process, which is picking your candidate for the next 4 years, but it's an indication of the strength that she has demonstrated in a national campaign, which none of the other potential candidates we've been talking about have.
John, thank you. Important points that you're making, that she does not have a single delegate. There's still so many questions and still a lot to play out in this process. And I want to take this now back to our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce. Mary, we were just talking to John about the importance of Democratic leaders weighing in. You reported just moments ago about the Clintons weighing in. Now you're getting word from the Obamas as well.
We are, Rachel, and this is a very lengthy statement from the office of Barack and Michelle Obama. I'm going to bear with me as I read through this in real time here. He praises his former vice president, saying Joe Biden has been one of America's most consequential presidents, as well as a dear friend and partner to me. Today, we've been reminded again that he's a patriot of the highest order. That lines up, of course, with so much of the praise that we have heard for Joe Biden and so much of the pressure that was put on him to step aside for the good of the country. The Obamas go on to mention that what they admire most about Joe Biden is his deep empathy and hard-earned resilience, his fundamental decency and belief that everyone counts. They tick through some of his many accomplishments while Biden has been in office during his first term. And they say more than that, President Biden pointed us away from the 4 years of chaos, falsehood, and division that had characterized Donald Trump's administration. Through his policies and his example, Joe has reminded us of who we are at our best, a country committed to old-fashioned values like trust and honesty, kindness and hard work, a country that believes in democracy, rule of law, and accountability. They praise his track record and everything that he has fought for throughout his life. He also says that he knows Joe Biden has never backed down from a fight. And for him to look at the political landscape and decide that he should pass the torch to a new nominee is surely one of the toughest in his life. The Obama saying, but I know he wouldn't make this decision unless he believed it was right for America. It's a testament to Joe Biden's love of country and a historic example of a genuine public servant, once again putting the interests of the American people ahead of his own, that future generations of leaders will do well to follow. Looking ahead, the Obamas mentioned we will be navigating uncharted waters in the days ahead, but I have extraordinary confidence that the leaders of our party will be able to create a process from which an outstanding nominee emerges. I believe that Joe Biden's vision of a generous, prosperous, and united America that provides opportunity for everyone will be on full display at the Democratic Convention in August, and I expect that every single one of us are prepared to carry that message of hope and progress forward into November and beyond. The former president ending by saying, for now, Michelle and I just want to express our love and gratitude to Joe and Jill for leading us so ably during these perilous times. What you will notice most about that statement is what Barack Obama does not mention, which is Kamala Harris. For now, that was a very lengthy statement all about Joe Biden and looking ahead to the uncharted waters, as they said, that are now in front of this entire country. But the Obama not willing just now to name any names. For now, taking the moment to simply reflect on the tremendous political legacy of President Joe Biden.
And Mary Bruce reporting on that reaction in real time from former President of the United States, Barack Obama. Mary, thank you. I want to go now to our White House correspondent, Selena Wang, our senior White House correspondent who is in Delaware traveling with the president. Selena, you are learning more just about how quickly the president made this decision.
Yeah, I mean, this was so closely held that I'm told that his senior staff and his senior campaign team did not know about his decision until a minute before that letter went out. They found out at about 1:45 p.m. today, and Biden's letter came out at 1:46 p.m. today. And this source, who is part of the administration, senior administration, tells me that the message last night from the president was that things were still full steam ahead. And that's what I was hearing when I was talking to aides and campaign staff last night. They were still digging their heels in. They were still defiant. They told me that the president was upset and angry over some of his closest allies turning against him. Their message to me was that they still believed there was a path forward, though they did couch that by saying the president was listening to more of those folks who were saying that it was time to step down and pass the torch. But I do want to mention that there is now this chaos, which is the split now about where to go next, right? We've been talking about Vice President Harris, that critical endorsement from President Biden, but I've been getting a lot of messages just.
They don't know what to do, who to ask, where it's coming from. This is uncharted territory. See from some other.
And she's already raising money. She's out there with a fundraising
That's right.
solicitation right now to try and drum up as much support as possible. So I do think this is something that you're going to see Democrats earnestly want to come to a conclusion as soon as possible. Do they settle on a process as early as August 1st, which is the date that they currently have set for the virtual roll call, and Kamala Harris goes into the August convention as the party's nominee? Or do they wait and delay that process, go all the way up to the convention, allow people to make speeches on the House floor or on the floor of the convention and go through all that? That's something that remains to be seen. But to your first question, anyone that has come out right now that's an elected Democrat or a prominent Democrat who has endorsed a candidate to replace Joe Biden, every single one of them have said that they support Kamala Harris. And I do think that's significant and shows how much support she has right now and why, at this point, it's her nomination to lose.
Ryan Nobles, thank you very much. I'm going to let you continue to do your reporting and make your calls, as I know you're doing. And I want to bring in NBC News Washington correspondent Yamiche Alcindor. Yamiche, I understand that you have some new reporting now on all of this. What's up?
That's right. I just got off the phone with CBC Chair Stephen Horseman, who is, of course, a congressman in Nevada. Now, he is someone who just got off the phone with the Vice President, Kamala Harris, which means she's there calling people who have endorsed her. The CBC PAC has already endorsed her. He described that phone call to me that lasted about 5 minutes as her reaching out to him. He told me that she told him specifically she wants to earn this and she will win. And he took her saying that she wanted to earn this, not that there was going to be this big sort of mini primary that some have talked about, but that she wanted to make sure that she had the delegates that she needed and she had the support of the party, because of course now that we're going into the convention, it's going to be a lot of the delegates who are going to be voting for her. So my understanding is that she is already sort of shoring up support here. And in talking to him, he also talked to me about this being an emotional call. He told me at one point he didn't know if he should call her Madam Vice President or Madam Nominee. And he said that, apart from, of course, this being a big moment for President Biden and really his legacy and passing the torch, he also said this is a moment where he can pause and tell his daughter, a little black girl, that there might be likely a black woman at the top of the Democratic ticket for the first time in history. He said that was not lost on him as the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. I also want to tell you that I've been talking to a number of allies of the vice president. They have a lot of tasks at hand, and the to-do list is long, but they are ticking through it. First up is that they're looking at new vice presidential nominees. They're talking about a number of people, including possibly Senator Mark Kelly. The other name is Gretchen Whitmer, who of course is the governor of Michigan. Andy Beshear is another name that I've heard. Mitch Landrieu is another name that I've heard. So they're really going through and looking at who now, if Vice President Kamala Harris becomes the presumptive nominee, if she ends up being at the top of the ticket officially, as a number of Democrats now we see are endorsing her to be, there's already the conversation of sort of who would be her VP. I also have been talking to people who say on that to-do list is shoring up donors, because in the weeks after this debate performance by President Biden, there are a number of donors who froze giving to the party and froze giving to the campaign. I just talked to someone who said now donors are emailing, they're excited again. They're saying, look, this might be hard, but we need to make up for lost ground. In some ways, the coffers are opening back up. Another thing that I'm hearing is that there's really going to be a campaign agenda for how to go forward. She's been on the road, Vice President Kamala Harris, a lot of times it's crisscrossing the nation, but I'm told that that's going to really kick up in the next few days and next few weeks here, as she now, of course, sets her sights on both shoring up the nomination, but also making the case as a prosecutor and as someone who has been very critical of former President Trump, that she can beat him and that she's the best candidate to beat him. Hallie.
Yamiche, thank you very much. Our chief political analyst, Chuck Todd, is joining us now. So, Chuck, pick up on that thought here. What does this process look like from a very practical nuts and bolts perspective? In other words, as we look ahead to, let's say, the next week, Chuck, we know that at some point, we will hear from President Biden himself. He has said that he would do that he would address the nation. That is going to be a critical moment, really, in modern political history right now. After that, where does this go, right? If Harris continues to rack up the endorsement, whether she does end up at the top of the ticket or not. I mean, she's got to select a running mate. We've talked about some of these names who could be in the mix for that position. Where do you see this going?
Well, there's two things. Let me get you on one technical. If somebody wants to challenge her for the nomination inside the process, there is an official process. You need 300 signatures, just like you would to get on a ballot, 300 signatures from delegates, from the current delegate field. We'll know in the next 24 hours whether anybody not named Harris is making calls to see if they can do that. So that's just something to keep an eye on in the next 24 hours. But I think she needs to have a very deliberate and methodical VP search, because there isn't going to be sort of a up down by the voters about her. I think it's an opportunity. It's a way for her to showcase some of the people that may be part of her administration if she wins, but she really needs to bond with this person. So she needs to take her time, and we're going to be harassing all these candidates and following them, and that's always annoying to these candidates who would like to be able to have conversations without speculation flying up in the air. But I think we'll go back to sort of the previous way this used to be done, where you would see the nominee to be the presumptive nominee. In this case, we may be calling her that pretty soon. Meeting with various, maybe we'll see secret flights come into National or Dulles that we'll have to keep an eye on things like that. But she really needs to, because I think this is going to define her. It's going to define her ideologically, and it's going to define her culturally. And that's why this is going to be an extraordinary, important first decision with her. So I wouldn't rush it. And I would almost be a bit as open as they're comfortable being about it. Go ahead and let us see who she's interviewing, see who she's meeting with. Throw in an Admiral McRaven on there. She may not end up picking him, but she ought to make him part of the interview process. You know, throw in some interesting wild cards in there, because again, she's introducing herself to the country at an important time. So she doesn't have many things to introduce herself. The VP selection process is one of them.
Chuck, thank you very much. Monica Alba is joining us now as well. And Monica, I know that you've been working the phones here on what is a decision that seemed to come both inevitably and suddenly, if something can be both of those two things.
I think that's a perfect way to describe it, Hallie. And so the fallout from all of it, you have to think about some of the people who've been working for him for years, for decades, who joined this reelection campaign and effort a little over a year and a half ago, and how they all found out. And now, after he posted that on social media, I'm told there have been really a series of calls, smaller calls that have been held from senior campaign leadership, briefing staff, and trying to kind of give them a sense of this moment and this seismic shift, trying to reassure some within the campaign. I'm told that there may be jobs still for them on this new campaign, whatever that ends up looking like, if indeed Kamala Harris is the nominee. But as for all the reasons you were just spelling out, they still have to sort all of that before that can get underway. So there are many people wondering what that apparatus is going to look like. And then on the White House side of things, since of course President Biden still has his day job, I'm told that senior leadership has also been holding calls with some smaller groups within the West Wing and within the administration to try to field and answer some questions about how this could have happened. And on one call in particular, there was a sense being raised of, well, we went out there, and as recently as yesterday, as recently as this morning, we said publicly the president was still in this, the president was still committed to this. Were we wrong? And according to one senior leader and senior White House aide who has been with the president for some time, who was leading this call, she told them, I understand, that you weren't wrong. We all thought that he was still in this race and committed to this, and that that was going to be his path forward as of early this afternoon, when that all changed. So now they're trying to sort of return to a little bit of the business at hand, which is hosting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House at some point this week, as he is also going to be addressing a joint session of Congress and trying to discuss some of these other scheduling matters, because he will still continue as the president with his schedule once he tests negative for COVID. And so they're now just trying to sort through what that looks like. But I understand he's still in Rehoboth Beach for now. We don't anticipate that changing at all today. We don't think he'll be returning to the White House. But then it's the larger question of if and when he does return to the White House in the next few days, if he does test negative, will he give that speech from the White House, from the Rose Garden, from the Oval Office, or will this be something that's a little bit different? I think they're still figuring all of that out, but we know that those discussions are also underway, which is significant too, Hallie.
Monica Alba, thank you very much. Our Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitale is joining us now as well. Ali Rafa, I should say, is joining us now. She is live in Rehoboth Beach with President Biden. And Ali, you have been listening to what Monica Alba has laid out here, the reporting that you and the team have done so far. The expectation, of course, is that we will hear from President Biden at some point in the coming days as we're continuing to follow. And again, forgive me, just looking at my laptop here because the information is coming in at a fairly crushing pace. In fact, I'm just seeing a new note from Senator Carper looking as he thanks President Biden for his service, saying that the country is indebted to the president. These are folks who have known the president for a long time, folks who have been close to him, including, of course, Chris Coons, Ali, who we've heard from
People
today
are
as well.
saying thank you for listening to it, for dropping out.
Yeah, and Senator Chris Coons is a longtime ally of President Biden, of course, a fellow senator from Delaware, where the president had served in the Senate for decades. And Chris Coons has come out repeatedly over the last month since that poor debate performance by President Biden as a supporter of his campaign, a co-chair of his campaign, and really defending the president. And in recent days had said, you know, he would support him in any decision he made, but wouldn't really signal one way or another whether he would support the president stepping aside. And that's been the difficult decision or choice that some of these longtime Biden allies had to make recently. And as recently as just this morning, Hallie, we heard from Congressman Jim Clyburn, who in just the last hour has come out and endorsed Vice President Harris as the replacement for President Biden. But just this morning, Congressman Clyburn, who of course is a co-chair on the Biden campaign, who is credited with saving President Biden's 2020 candidacy, came out and said that he would support any decision that the president made, that if he decided to change his mind and step out of this race, that he would support that. But of course, during that interview that he did, he also issued this warning to Democrats, warning them that if they weren't going to unite before their convention in mid-August, that they would risk losing as a party in November. And so that's what the task is for Vice President Harris at this point now, as the replacement for President Biden at the top of the Democratic ticket. How do you unify this party before the Democrats' convention, especially those members of the Democratic Party who felt sort of disenfranchised by the president, who did not want him at the top of the ticket, and who may not want Vice President Harris there as well, who are open to a mini primary where any Democrat could throw their hat in the ring. Of course, a very messy process that goes with that. But that is the task at hand right now, as we see her take this much more prominent role really over